Hello all and welcome to Mindful Minecraft. My name is Andrew and this is All the Mods 9. Last episode, we obtained our Allthemodium pickaxe and obtained some other important resources. I also made a few more tools now that we have access to our smithing templates and better materials. Now, in between episodes, I found a new spot to build our agricultural system. This might be a fun little spot to build. I like this. It's given a little house on the prairie, which is going to essentially fuel us for the rest of our journey. I designed a nice waystone hub and a new farm that we can duplicate in a grid design. In order to make this possible, we're going to dive into the create mod a little bit. We need to make ourselves a schematic cannon and we need to gather the associated materials as well as some tools to go along with it. After that, we're going to set up our first ore processing factory using Mekanism, as well as some better early game power utilizing extreme reactors. For now, we will be sticking to All the Mods 9, as there is way more content for us to cover. I'm going to keep posting Prominence 2 videos, however, it is going to be less frequent. And the All the Mods 9 videos will start getting pumped out. I'm enjoying All the Mods 9 way more at the moment, and I'd love to do some more short form tutorial specific videos for anyone that may need help with certain things. Let me know what you think. I'd love to say thank you to everyone who has been consistently watching and supporting the content. There's going to be some really useful items we go over later on associated with ore acquisition, building, and power. So stay tuned, get yourselves a snack, a beverage, and sit back to enjoy episode 3 of our All the Mods 9 series. Now before we make the create schematic cannon, we should probably compile a little material list. The total raw material cost, the schematic cannon, the schematic table, the empty schematic, and the schematic and quill is as follows. 18 iron, 4 smooth stone, 2 logs, any logs will do, 1 redstone, 1 bow, 3 wooden slabs, any type of wood, 2 paper, 2 light blue dye, and 1 feather. Okay, so let's craft the schematic cannon. It's gonna be 2 iron blocks, 2 logs of any kind, 2 smooth stone, and 1 dispenser. That's why we need our bow and our redstone. Now let's go to the schematic table. This requires 3 wooden slabs of any kind and then 2 smooth stone. Next up, we have our empty schematic. This is going to be 1 paper and 1 light blue dye. And we need to make 2 of these. Then let's go ahead and make our schematic and quill. This is going to be 1 empty schematic and 1 feather. Now we have everything we need aside from a barrel. Any inventory works, but I just like using a barrel. Why not? Then we'll just grab some building blocks so that I can make something and make a little schematic and show you how we're going to use this. We also need gunpowder. Gunpowder is how we fuel the schematic cannon, and it's actually super efficient. Now that we're in the mining dimension, we have a lot of open space to build. We're going to take the schematic cannon, we're going to take our schematics, we're going to build something real small, and I'm just going to show you how this thing works. So first, let's go ahead and let's just place our schematic cannon. Then we'll place our schematic table, and then we have our schematic and quill. This is how we're going to copy and paste everything. And then we have our empty schematic. This is what we put in here. As you see, it says add your schematic here. So let's take our building blocks after we put our barrel down. This is the inventory this pulls from. Now we're going to build a little 4x4 interior house, just to show you how this works. Okay, so we have our little structure thing here, right? We're going to take our schematic and quill. We're going to right click in the first position. As you can see, this box moves with us. And then we're going to right click our second position. Now we right click it and let's just name it box. Save that, and it just saved as box.nbt. And we can go ahead, put our empty schematic in the schematic table, and then we'll scroll down and we'll just hit box.nbt. These NBT files are the schematics you can download online and just pull in, and it's super efficient. It's nice if you want to just replicate something, right? So let's do one there. Now, as you can see, this is highlighted and we have a little menu. So if we hold left alt, we can scroll and change the tool we're going to use. Then if you're using the move modes, either move XZ or move Y, You hold control, and whatever face you're looking at, you move it from that face. I'm just scrolling back and forth right now. I'm just going to leave this where it is to showcase exactly how this works. We're going to go to the barrel. We're going to put our logs and our cobblestone in here. Then we're going to open the schematic cannon, and we're going to put our gunpowder in there. Every one gunpowder gets you 400 shots, and that's essentially 400 blocks. That's pretty good. Then we have our printer settings. This is really cool and kind of important. So say we have some air blocks or something that we want to be replaced. We can have it replace the solid with any extra blocks. We can have it replace the solid with empty, and this will clear everything in that area. It just voids all those drops. So let's go ahead and we'll put the schematic in here. We'll hit play, and you'll see this. It starts blasting away. This is pretty cool, but I made a schematic for the farm, and we're just going to make a giant grid design using the schematic cannon to save ourselves a little bit of time. And you just heard a little sound. Now, every time you do this, the schematic empties, then you have to go ahead, put it back in here, and pick something out. We have this giant farm that we're going to be using, and this is going to be all over that area I showed you earlier. Now that we know how the schematic cannon works, I think we should probably jump into Mekanism. This is going to be huge because we need a lot of ore processing. This is going to range from turning it from raw ore all the way into possible 8xing our ore later on. So this is a basic little factory setup. I'm going to go through how we're going to do it. Just like the schematic table, I think what we're going to do is make a little material list, and we're going to craft our machines, and then we're going to head to the mining dimension, and we're going to build that factory. The raw material cost for our Mekanism Ore Doubling factory is going to consist of 45 redstone dust, 39 raw iron, 16 raw coal, 15 raw osmium, 15 infused alloys, 8 basic control circuits, 8 pieces of glass, 8 steel ingots, 5 base terracotta, nothing dyed, 2 furnaces, 1 raw gold, 1 bucket of water, 1 bucket of lava, and 1 electrolytic core. So as you can see here, we have a couple mechanism items on the board. We're going to need to start with a Metallurgic Infuser and some kind of power source. I think a good power source for us to start with would be a coal generator. We have a ton of coal, and there's no reason not to. So you got to make a machine frame first. It's just 4 iron, 2 gold nuggets, and then 2 blue dye. Then we'll go ahead and craft the coal generator, and then let's just grab a stack of coal. Then it's time to make our Metallurgic Infuser. Now for this, you're just going to need 2 furnaces, 4 iron ingots, 2 redstone dust, and 1 osmium ingot. Now that's crafted up. I think the best way to do this, we should probably make 2 of these, but I already have one, so I'm just going to grab that other one. And then we're going to need some kind of power cable, and pipes has a really good starting power cable, so we'll just use that. It's just an energy pipe. It's 2 blocks of redstone, 1 redstone dust, and 6 iron ingots, and you get 16 energy pipes. And since we're using pipes, let's just go ahead and make the pipe wrench. You just need 2 of any metal rod and 2 flint. So we'll go ahead and just make some iron rods. Now we have our pipe wrench. We can go ahead and we can set this up. Now we're back in the mining dimension. So let's go ahead and let's put our machines down. We'll start with the coal generator, and then we need to run some energy from this. From here, we're going to put 1 Metallurgic Infuser on the bottom, 1 Metallurgic Infuser on the top, and then we'll run a second energy pipe there. Now, we need to take our wrench and shift right click this side of the pipe. This turns it to output. Every time you see one of these little outlines, that is the output side. This side here, it doesn't have that little lip, so it's just input. So now that we have our machines hooked up, let's go ahead and let's put some coal in our generator. This is going to start fueling these up, and as you can see, it does pretty good. Now we'll go ahead, we'll take half this coal because we're going to need it. Next up on our list, we need to make an enrichment chamber. And to do this, we're going to need some steel casings. So that's going to take steel. And steel actually has a pretty easy little process here. All you have to do is put coal or carbon into the Metallurgic Infuser with an enriched iron. And in order to get enriched iron, you need to do the same thing. Just put coal, iron, and you get enriched iron. We're just going to put 16 coal in the top. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put some iron in here. Now, we only need 4, but we need 8 total for this whole setup. So let's just do 8. Now, this will go through. It's going to turn our iron into enriched iron, and I'll be right back as soon as this is done. But while we wait for this to complete, we might as well go ahead and complete our basic control circuits. But for that, we need osmium and redstone. Now, total, we're going to need 8 of these basic control circuits. So we'll need 8 ingots, and then we're going to need 16 redstone dust, because each time we make one of these, it uses 20 millibuckets, which is just 2 redstone. Let's go ahead, let's put 16 in here. And this is going to go, and it's going to turn all this osmium into our 8 basic control circuits. Now our enriched iron's done, and you can see here we've got 80 millibuckets of carbon left, or just 8 pieces of coal. We're going to go ahead, we're going to put this back in, and we're going to get 8 steel dust. So our basic control circuits are complete, so let's just go ahead and put those away. Next, we're going to have to smelt this steel dust back into steel. So let's go ahead and let's run back to the base and smelt this up real quick. So now that we're here, we're just going to smelt this up, and then we'll go right back. But first, we need to grab a couple more materials. Let's go ahead and let's get our glass. We need 8. And then we're going to need 5 terracotta. We're going to need 1 bucket of water and 2 buckets of lava. Let's go ahead and get those real quick. And then we're going to need 1 gold dust, 2 osmium dust, and 1 iron dust. You can do this a couple ways in order to get the dust, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use an ore hammer. The reason why I'm going with the ore hammer is because you need a minimum of 3 ore in order for the enrichment chamber to process whatever you're putting in there into dust. So I would just prefer to take this gold and make 2 gold dust out of that. And then we're going to need osmium. And then we need iron. Now we have all the dust we need for our electrolytic core. I just wanted to get the electrolytic core out of the way. So we'll get to this infused alloy in a second, but we just got our dust. And then I've already made a basic energy cube and some wind generators. So I'll have enough power to just show you how we're going to set this up. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our first big power source. We have everything in our backpack here. Now that we've got our steel, our basic control circuits, our osmium, and our glass, we can go ahead and we can craft 2 steel casings. Let's go ahead and do that. Next up, we need to make this enrichment chamber. The enrichment chamber is 4 redstone, 2 basic control circuits, 2 iron, and 1 steel casing. We're going to need 2 of these total, so we'll just do the double craft right now. We have our basic control circuits, our iron ingots, our osmium, our redstone dust, and our steel casings. That's everything we need for our enrichment chamber. However, we need to make 2 of these, so let's go ahead and do that. You'll see why we need 2 in just a minute. Now, it's time to show you how to do the infused alloy. This is pretty simple. Same thing, Metallurgic Infuser, 1 redstone and 1 iron ingot to get 1 infused alloy. We need a total of 15 infused alloys, so let's go ahead and make those. Now on the top one, I'm just going to do 8. On the bottom, I'm just going to do 7, just so they're both going, and this will be a little quicker. I'll be right back as soon as these are ready. While these last couple finish, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this electrolytic separator. This is the next step in our process. So this is going to take water and turn it into oxygen, and we need oxygen in order to fuel the purification chamber. So let's go ahead and let's make this electrolytic separator. Now this is why we needed to get that dust. So let's go ahead first and we'll make our electrolytic core. This is going to be 5 infused alloy, 2 osmium dust, 1 iron dust, and 1 gold dust. And we've got our little core here. Let's go back. Now all we need is 4 iron ingots, 2 infused alloy, 2 redstone, and that core. Now we have our electrolytic separator. Moving on, we need to make the purification chamber. This one's a little expensive, but that's why we needed that enrichment chamber. First, we're going to need to make 2 of these advanced control circuits, and that's 1 basic control circuit and 2 infused alloy. So let's go ahead and craft our advanced control circuits real quick. We just need 2. And then we have everything else we need to make the purification chamber. Now we only have 1 more machine on our list that we need to make. We just need our 2 lava buckets, our steel casing, and we have everything else in our inventory. We're actually going to need 1 more steel casing, so I went and I ran back to the base to grab it. My bad. So we just need 2 lava buckets, 1 steel casing, 4 redstone, and 2 basic control circuits. And that's it. That's all we need, except for 1 more item. We need to make ourselves this sink. It just requires 5 regular terracotta, and then 1 water bucket and 3 iron ingots. And this is an infinite water source. It's super cool. Let's go ahead and craft it. Now we have everything we need. So I'm going to grab our pipes and our power just to set this up and show you how this works. So now that we have our power set up, we need to run 4 cables out of our power source. And then in order, we need to put the electrolytic separator, the purification chamber, the crusher, and finally the enrichment chamber. Now, each of these has sides, and these sides dictate what goes where. So for us, our electrolytic separator, we need to go to side configs, we need to go to gases, we need to turn eject on, make sure that's on, and we need to make write output 2. You'll notice this has like a teal outline, and that's why we want to put it in this second slot. It corresponds with that teal outline. Next up is the purification chamber. For this, we want to click gases. We want to click on the left one and make sure that's on input. Now this will transfer gas into our slot here. Then we want to make sure we're in the item configs tab. We want to make sure eject is on and that top is input, right is output. Then for the crusher, we want to make sure left is input and right is output. Then the enrichment chamber, we want to make sure left is input and right is output. Now, all of these are set up so that when we drop 1 ore into the purification chamber, it will then turn into 2 iron dust by the time it comes out of the enrichment chamber. So let's set up 2 pipes. Let's make sure they're set to extract. This one doesn't need to be. Let's get 2 barrels. 1 up here and 1 right here. And then we have 1 more thing to do. We need to make sure that all of these can get power. So let's go back to the side config, go to energy. You'll see the pipe here for energy. Go ahead and make sure that's on input and do that on all of these. Now all of these should be connected. Then we need to give our electrolytic separator water. We need to go back into side configs, go to fluids, and on left, make sure we click input. Now we need to make sure that this is set to export, and you can see we're full of water. And last step, we just need to power everything. So now this is making hydrogen and oxygen. Later on, we're going to store this because we're going to need it. But we have 2 options here. We have a dump system on both sides for each gas. I have it set so when the oxygen fills up, the machine will go idle. When hydrogen fills up, it'll dump the excess, just for now. Now we just need to put 1 ore in here, and it will make its way through and turn into 2 iron dust here. So let's go ahead, we'll put our raw iron in the barrel, and let's set this to extract. Now it comes in, it starts processing, and it's gonna make 2 iron clumps. These iron clumps are gonna go straight into the crusher, and they're gonna make 2 dirty iron dust. And then it's gonna go into the enrichment chamber, and it's going to turn into 1 iron dust. But we have 2 of them. So we've essentially turned our 1 iron ore into 2 iron dust. And that is how Mekanism Ore Doubling Factory works. It's that simple. It's really small. And there's plenty of ways that we can compact this even further. But once we get our new big power setup, this is going to go way faster. I hope this helped. This was kind of a pain in the butt to make because I messed it up a couple times. That's on me. But this is our Mekanism Ore Doubling Factory. It's small right now, But once we get ourselves some big power later on this episode, this is going to be a powerhouse to be reckoned with. So now that we have our ore processing factory set up back there, I'm going to turn this area here that I outlined into a reactor right here in the center. It's going to be 5 by 5 by 5, and we're going to need to make another material list. So let's get right into it. The total material cost of our 5 by 5 by 5 reactor is going to be 228 iron ingots, 167 graphite bars, 90 glass of any type, 42 redstone dust. We're going to make 4 blocks out of that and leave 8 as dust, 33 sand of any variety, 17 uranium ingots, 7 pistons, 3 redstone comparators, 2 redstone repeaters, 2 hoppers, 2 chests, and 1 diamond. Now let's go ahead and let's get these crafted up. I already have them crafted up, so I'm just going to go through the crafting recipes with you. Now, we're going to need a ton of these reactor casings, and you'll see here you get 4 per craft, so it's not too bad. However, we're going to need 58 of these for just the 5 by 5 by 5 reactor setup that we're doing, so keep that in mind. It's going to take us about 33 crafts total, but we're going to make a total of 132 of these reactor casings. Now, that's just going to be 4 graphite bars, 4 iron ingots, and 1 sand of any kind, and you'll get your 4 reactor casings. You'll notice this says basic at the end, and we can turn this into a reinforced reactor casing. It's quite a bit more expensive, and you only get 1-to-1, but you need 4 steel and 4 graphite along with that reactor casing to get your 1 reinforced casing. Now, this is really good in the long run. However, since this is early game, we're just going to get ourselves started with a really decent power setup. Next up, we have our reactor glass. We need 30 reactor glass for our setup, and that requires 2 glass of any kind and 1 reactor casing. Next up, we have a reactor fuel rod. This is going to consist of 4 iron ingots, 2 graphite bars, 1 uranium ingot, and 2 glass of any kind, and we need 15 of these. After that, we have our reactor control rods. This requires 4 reactor casings, 2 iron ingots, 1 graphite bar, 1 piston, and 1 redstone, and we need 5 of these. Then we're going to make reactor redstone ports, and I'll show you how to use these once we set our reactor up and we confirm that it's working. We need 4 reactor casings, 1 redstone comparator, 1 redstone repeater, 2 iron ingots, and 2 gold ingots, and we're going to need 2 of these total. Then we have our reactor solid access port. This is how we're going to get our fuel in and our waste out. We're going to need 4 reactor casings, 2 iron ingots, 1 chest, 1 hopper, and 1 piston, and we need 2 of these total. Then we have our reactor active forge energy power tap, and this is going to allow us to pull the power out of the internal buffer in the reactor, and we can send it wherever we need to, but this is how we have to take it out of our system. It's going to require 4 reactor casings, 4 blocks of redstone, and 1 redstone dust, and we only need 1 of these for now. And then finally, we need our reactor controller, and this is going to require 4 reactor casings, 2 uranium ingots, 1 diamond, 1 redstone, and 1 redstone comparator, and we only need 1 of these. Now, you keep hearing me say graphite, but graphite's super easy to get. All we have to do is smelt up our coal, and we get graphite bars. So if you have auto smelt on a pickaxe, this is really helpful because you can just go mine a bunch of coal veins real quick with your ore excavate, and boom, you've got your graphite bars right there. So now that we have all of our resources, let's go ahead and let's make ourselves our reactor. We're going to set it up right here on this 5x5 deep slate platform that I made. So to start, we need to make ourselves a 5x5 platform of these reactor casings. And then we need to go up 4 blocks on each corner. Now, this is what step 1 should look like. Now, we're going to take and we're going to fill our casings in and connect all of these. And you'll notice we have a little 3x3 interior here. Next, we're going to take our reactor control rods. These are what control our fuel rods. These are the control rods. These are the fuel rods. So then we're going to place 3 under each of these. I'm leaving the middle one out just for now so we can fill the rest of this in. And then we need to take our glass and our solid access ports, and we're going to put 1 solid access port here and 1 solid access port here. And I'll go over how to configure these in just a moment. Next, we're going to fill our glass in on these sides. And then on the back, we have to do something a little different. So we need a way to get our power out, and we need a way to check our system in order to keep this either running or keep this turned off. So what I like to do is place my power tap in the middle, and I like to do the reactor redstone ports, 1 on each side of it. I just think it balances it out and it looks better. And then what we'll do is we'll fill that in. We'll move to the front and we'll fill the top 6 in, and then the last 2 on the sides here. Now, all we need is our reactor controller. We'll go ahead, we'll put that there, and you'll see it says air is not valid for the reactor's exterior. It's because it's open right now. So we are going to need a way to cool this. And there's a couple different ways, but I am going to use platinum blocks just because I have them and it works for me. But we can also do water, but you cannot leave air. So if you put your water on the top here, it drains down. It's not going to work. It's only going to cool these ones here because that's where the source block is. So you have to start from the bottom and do 1 water there, 1 water there, 1 water there, and you repeat that all the way around. And that is how you would cool it. However, you can also use blocks like iron blocks, platinum blocks, netherite blocks, diamond blocks, gold blocks, emerald blocks. But we're just going to use platinum because it's pretty close to one of the best, and it's a really easy resource to get. Like, there is a ton in this mod pack. And so we'll place our platinum blocks just like this. We're going to box ourselves in here. And then we'll take our final fuel rods and our final control rod. We'll go ahead and we'll put that right on top. Then we'll take our remaining reactor casings. And now our reactor is all closed up. But we still have a couple things that we need to go over. Remember how I said we have these reactor solid access ports on both sides? One is going to be feeding our fuel, and the other is going to be taking the waste. So what I'd like to do, I already have my fuel and a waste drawer, but I like to take and just put a drawer underneath it, take a pipe, hook it right in, and then go ahead and open that pipe up. So you'll see these fuel rods, they start to fuel up and fill up, and that's exactly what we want to see. So we know we're getting our fuel. Next, we need to put our waste bucket down, basically. And once we put our waste drawer down, which is just cyanite, we need to put a pipe down, make the pipe export, and then we need to open the solid access port here and switch it to outlet mode. Now you can see that turned the little arrows out and it changed to green. So this will actively always pump that cyanite straight into this drawer. Then we've got our controller here. Now it's off right now, but you can see here, waste ejection mode is on automatic. That's nice. We need that. So it's nice it comes like that. And then on the back, we still have our power tap, and we still have the reactor redstone ports we need to go over. Now, what I do is I use redstone links, and these are pretty simple. So craft them. All you need is a brass casing and a redstone torch, and a brass casing is just any log, any stripped wood basically, and a brass ingot, and you get 1. And then when you craft this with the redstone torch, you get 2, and that's perfect. So we'll go ahead and we'll slap these on. And then we need to right click one of these. I always go for the right side one. And we need to turn it to receive. And then we need to open our first reactor redstone port here, change it to on, set from signal, save, go into the second one, and then we have all these options down here. But the one we're mostly worried about is the energy stored. So we're just going to click energy stored, active wall below, and then I usually just set it to 95. And now this reactor, as you can see here, once we turn this on, if it's above 95%, it'll shut off. If it's below 95%, it'll turn on. And you can see here, we're making 11K FE per tick, 11.4K. And this is consistent. This is just going to constantly pump, but we are burning fuel. So the next thing we're going to work on is transferring this power out of here. But what we need to do first is set a signal on these. I just use uranium ingots, just keep it simple. It's a reactor here. But now we have our power. And this thing is going to do some work for us. Over here, we only have 192, 192, 192. So we don't even have 1000 FE per tick in that little setup. And here we've got 11.4 thousand, which is pretty good. I hope this one was helpful. This is a new mod to me. I have never really done reactors, so I'm learning this as we go, and I personally enjoy it. I think it's cool. It's a definitely an interesting thing to be in Minecraft, I would say, but this is all the mods 9, so what do we expect? Now, at the beginning of this episode, I hinted at some secret blocks. We have Flux networks in this pack, and this is cross-dimensional, so we can use it in the overworld, we can use it in the nether, we can use it in the mining dimension, the end, the undergarden, the aether, anywhere that's not where the base of the power is. So to get started, we're going to need to get a couple materials here. That's why we're down here at bedrock. So in this mod, in order to get flux dust, we need to put redstone dust on a piece of bedrock, and then we need to right click it with obsidian. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this obsidian here, go ahead and jump up. We're going to toss our redstone dust on to our bedrock. We're going to grab our piece of obsidian, we're going to place it above, and then we're going to left click, and you're going to hear a big bang. So our obsidian turned to cobblestone. That doesn't always happen, but it can. And then we got 64 flux dust, and we're going to need a ton of this for a ton of these plugs and points along the way. So I'm going to go back to the base, and I'm going to show you how to craft these. So now that we're back at the base, we need to make a little material list of exactly how much stuff we're going to need to build this. Now, the materials we're going to need for our flux controller, flux plug, and flux point are 77 redstone. We're going to make 1 block and leave the rest as dust. We need 68 flux dust. We need 36 obsidian and 9 eyes of ender. So starting, we have our flux controller. We need this or else we can't wirelessly charge any of our stuff, and it is how we set up our network. So this just requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flux blocks, 1 flux core, and 2 flux dust. We only need 1 of these. Next, we have our flux plug. This is going to require 4 flux cores and 1 flux block, and this is what we're going to connect to our reactor in order to send our power to a battery or whatever we're using. Then we have our flux point, and this is 4 flux cores and 1 block of redstone. And this is how we're going to take power from our network and put it on machines wherever we go. Now we need to make flux cores. So that's 4 flux dust, 4 obsidian, 1 eye of ender per 4. We're going to have to make 9 sets of these because we need 33, and 9 times 4 is 36, and 8 times 4 is 32. And unfortunately, we just need 1 extra flux core to make this all work. And then the flux block just requires 5 flux dust and 4 flux cores. we're gonna need 33 of these flux cores. So I've already gone ahead and I've made these. So we have everything we need to start. And we're gonna have wireless power in no time. Let's go back to the reactor and set it up. So we're back here at the reactor and we have our power tap here. What I like to do is just set up my little flux controller just right by this, no reason not to. And then we need to click on this. This home page is where you're gonna see your network. This is pretty important. And the reason why this is so good is you can bypass this limit, and no matter what, if you can make the power, this can transfer the power. It doesn't matter how much or how little it is. Now let's go ahead and let's make ourselves a network. Let's just name it reactor power. And let's give it this kind of orange color. So now we have a network, and then we have our flux plug and our flux point. So the flux plug goes onto the power tap. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to go to network selection, click on reactor power, and then we're out of there. So now power is hooked up. We now have wireless power. We're going to take our basic energy cube and we're going to put our flux point on it. We're going to go back to network selection and click reactor power. Now this is hooked up. This is 100% hooked up. And no matter what, this will always receive 11.6k FE per tick once this runs out. So that's pretty good. Now we can go ahead and jam pack this full of upgrades, and then we can turn these into like tier factories where instead of one slot in each of these, it has 3, and that's like the first basic upgrade. So that is secret item number 1 complete. I don't think we're going to get to our other ones this episode. I think we should save those for next episode. This has already been a pretty long episode, and I think we should probably split this content up a little bit here. I have a ton more coming, so I really appreciate everyone staying and watching. I would love to know if this helped you, and I want to let you know that every single one of these tutorials that I did today, I'm going to section them off and post them individually so that if you need to just go back and look, you don't have to scroll through my video. You can just go find the Extreme Reactors basic 5x5x5 tutorial, or the Mekanism Ore Factory tutorial, or the schematic canning tutorial. And I hope that's helpful. Next episode, we're definitely going to get into our other secret items right off the bat. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and you have a great day.